Portable gaming has evolved quite noticeably in the past years. Some would argue even too much, considering the barrier between home consoles and handhelds is thinner than ever. Being priced anywhere between 500 to 990 euros, the Switch 2, the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally are yes modern consoles, but not exactly budget like their predecessors. Also, these console libraries are not unique, there are no games tailor-made for portability. That explains why I started to observe the rise of various Chinese consoles, Android devices that run all sorts of emulators that range in more affordable prices. Some like the AYN Thor are 250 euros, or with a substantial discount, but some others like the R36S are as low as 30 euros on AliExpress, quite literally a tenth, now a 20th of the price of a deck. This sparks the question, why does Nintendo, known historically for their affordable portable consoles, do anything? Like releasing a modern affordable Gameboy Classic with multiple oldies just like they did for the NES and the Super Nintendo. Would a quote-unquote Game Boy Mini or even a DS or 3DS Mini be a good idea if well priced? The gap in the market is definitely there, but if there's something Nintendo avoids at all costs is to compete against herself. Fans would love it, but would shareholders vote for this concept? As per usual, there are lots to discuss here, but first things first, roll the intro. If I timed the release of this video correctly, the Nintendo Switch 2 was released exactly 1 year ago, the 5th of June 2025. Even if the console has sold over 20 million units, records of sales worldwide, the public has mixed feelings about it, skeptical about the prohibitive price tag, one that of course was destined to increase due to the absurd times we live in. But if it's not the price tag that pushed people off, it is its concept. A portable console has a 7.9 inches of screen where games are $80 at launch. The console is barely portable, at most transportable in a backpack, and games made for it are not games that are meant to be played on the go. Same goes for the Steam Deck, a console is highly priced that again does not have a dedicated game, just multi-platforms. I do not want to dive in deeper about the differences between modern portable consoles and older portable consoles, because I already did that for 8 minutes and 25 seconds. But the TLDR is that these consoles and these consoles are designed differently, both in their hardware as well as software. Why is this relevant? Well, you see, there is a sector of the public that misses the old instantaneous play older portable consoles had. From my end, I rediscovered my Nintendo 3DS, while 3 friends of mine bought 3 different Chinese portable consoles just to have that retro experience. We're referring to the R36S, the RG35XXSP, and the PS202 MTK. Very catchy names if you ask me. These consoles are a fraction in power than the mainstream. They can barely run GBA, PSP and Dreamcast games, but these consoles are very affordable, in some cases even cheaper than a single newly released game. Not to mention their size, actually portable consoles since they do fit easily in anybody's pocket. The legality of the software is dubious to say the least, but it is undeniable these consoles are widely available and are being sold and used by many players. Same goes for emulators. Nowadays, 99% of smartphones sold have the bare minimum requirements to run at least a Game Boy Advance emulator, something yet another friend of mine does, since he wishes to play quick runs of Advance Wars 2 between a break and the other. Digital buttons might not be ideal for gaming, but again, the phone you currently own is much more portable than half a meter of console. It is truly naive to pretend emulators and ROM hacks do not exist, or that they are morally wrong, since it takes not even 5 minutes to set up on all kinds of devices. No one can argue in good faith that playing 20-year-old games not even sold in stores is prohibited and it goes against divine rule. People do it and people will keep on doing it. So, if there is a sizable percentage of the population that does miss smaller, cheaper, portable consoles, why does Nintendo not deliver their own alternative? They sort of did it in the past with the NES and the SNES Classic Mini, officially branded emulators sold at high but not unreasonable prices, so why not release a Gameboy Classic? These classic version consoles were priced at around 60 euros and contained over 30 different bangers. Not a deal for everybody considering we're speaking about 4-year-old games, but at least it was an official way to enjoy these games without resorting to knockoffs. A portable Game Boy Classic Mini sold at double the price of those Chinese consoles containing the 50 best GBA games, including the Pokemons, the Advance Wars, the Zeldas, the Kirbys, the Fire Emblems and whatnot, would definitely be appealing to many. For 150 euros, they could even release a new 3DS, a device packaged with DS and 3DS games too, games that, let me remind you, are ready. Considering how much these old gems are sold on the second-hand market, I would argue this to be a no-brainer, not to mention that again, people feel more comfortable buying something branded than something sketchy. So, why are we empty-handed? Why don't we have a Game Boy or a DS Classic Mini, at least at the time of recording? Despite having quite logical sense, I believe there are 2 major obstacles that are hard to tackle, or rather that Nintendo is unwilling to deal with. Technology is most definitely not one of them. If our manufacturer in Shenzhen can make one of these for less than $30, so can Nintendo. If anything, Nintendo could even partner with one of these already existing factories and get a share of the profit. Rather, the two major hurdles are the current sales of the Switch 2 and the existing competition. Starting with the former, the software sales of the Switch 2 are just too high to justify a new handheld device. Even if I stated that it is not only possible, but ridiculously easy to download and play a GBA game today, with either a cheap portable console or even the phone you already own, it does not mean that it happens as much as you think. Recently, Game Freak released Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Nintendo Switch 2, two 25-year-old games sold at $20 each. There was so little effort put into them, so little in fact that you literally have to purchase another version of the game if you want to change language. That's right, in 2026, Game Freak was unable, or more probably unwilling, to add a select language option to a game sold at €20, as in Game of the Year Silksong €20. Such a disgrace was called out. People spent €500 just to repurchase games sold 2 decades ago? Let me remind you that Hogwarts Legacy, Death Stranding, Control, Civilization 6, Watch Dogs 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Viewfinder, GTA 5 were all games given out for free on PC that came out much later. How on earth is Nintendo expecting to sell a single copy of this madness? The answer is very simple. There is no need to expect anything when the facts speak by themselves. Despite the critiques, this version of the game sold around 4 million copies, which entails an €80 million profit for just uploading a 40MB ROM file compiled in one afternoon, maybe one already available on the internet. It wouldn't be the first time. Can't wait to see the same for the rest of the Pokemon franchise. If the average customer is apparently more than willing to spend €520 to play a single Game Boy Advance game, or at least 50 games for $100, the margin of profits for a hypothetical new console would be considerably smaller than just uploading a 10MB file to a digital store owned by the same company. This video file size is about 10GB if you're wondering. Services like the Nintendo Switch Online Plus already generate more revenue per subscription, a subscription that offers retro games that this retro classic console would probably have. You might think GameCube games cannot possibly run on smaller devices, yet my phone runs Dolphin just fine, and I have played and completed Pokemon XD with little to no hiccups. Speaking of emulators, this brings me to the other problem, the competition. Now you might be confused about this one, since I started the monologue by arguing there's a gap in the market, and yet now I claim competitors do exist? Let me explain. While it is true that there is no legitimate portable console that is undercutting the market, these Chinese knockoffs do exist, and they already do offer a very cheap alternative to whatever Nintendo might prepare. There is a share of the general public that would emulate games to save up money no matter what, resulting in a slightly more expensive product made officially by Nintendo a bit pointless. If you already own a modified homebrew 3DS or an R36S filled with downloaded games, why would you purchase an official €100 or more expensive console? Also, keep in mind that if such a console is going to be designed like the NES and the SNES Classic Minis, it will only allow a very limited amount of games when compared to the vastness of the internet. During Eastern, I played the fan game remake of Pokemon Sword, a wonderful project released in 2024 that is playable on emulators as well as these consoles. But would it be playable in an official Nintendo console? I don't think so. I believe Nintendo is aware that no console of theirs will truly eradicate piracy, so rather than to try, they prefer higher profits by releasing games on their own terms and in their own turf. You could even argue that Nintendo already has a mid-range console, that is, the original Switch. At least for now and for the years to come, the console is still supported and it can easily be bought for €100–150. The OG Switch is a bit more portable than the Switch 2, and the Switch Lite even more, meaning that Nintendo would only be competing against herself if they dare such a new proposed project. Now, would a Game Boy or DS Classic Mini be a banger of a console? Absolutely. There are still millions of people that do feel uncomfortable with the current alternatives, either expensive, not very portable models or cheap, non-official devices. It is undeniable people would buy it, and as suggested before, perhaps Nintendo could even hire those same Beijing-based companies to do the exact same product but to double the price by printing their logo on it. But nevertheless, the realities of the market are what they are, and unfortunately I do not foresee anything for the near future, especially considering all that is happening in the gaming market when it comes to prices. There is, for the better or for the worse, a status quo that Nintendo is unwilling to alter, meaning that if you do not have the budget for one of these, you're forced to buy one of these. Nothing in the middle truly exists, nor will Nintendo ever dare. Portable gaming has evolved, and by making this second video, you can imagine that I'm not too fond of the new iterations of portable consoles. Now, not that the Switch 2 is bad, mind you, but I'm still a bit salty about the fact that we have lost a game design philosophy that was alive and well for a great part of my life, that to some extent still lives on. Despite the reasons why Nintendo would not develop a new mini console, I think it would be splendid for them to release such an awaited dedicated hardware, one that perhaps even allows developers to release games for it for a reduced price. Would you buy a new Game Boy Mini if it came out tomorrow? Let me know down in the comments below. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one too many Game Boy times for watching today's video. If If there's a chance to talk about my beloved 3DS, you bet I'm making another video about the topic. Do you also miss that type of portable gaming? Do you own one of these portable consoles? I wish you all a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci!